Hello and welcome to this podcast edition of Sam's Alternatives with me, Sam, episode 17. I'll be chatting to Dan McDougall from Volume Dealer, a fellow podcaster, a fellow YouTube channel person who has interviewed bands, had bands play on his episodes as well. Heaps to chat with Dan about. I thought I'd just jump on a couple of minutes early because there's actually a lot of stuff happening over the next couple of weeks and a few things that have just been announced interviews wise. So much brand new music released since last episode. Talk Heavy, Head First, Echoes in Eternity, North Road, Banks Arcade, Melting and Heists, all bands that have dropped new singles or new EPs. Are loving the new Heist song, of course, Return to Tragedy. It's a little bit different to the last few releases like Submerged in Pain and also Terminal Unrest, but I feel like this is the way Heists are doing what they're doing so well, is because they're mixing it up with the music. Of course, Melting dropped their new EP on Friday. You Exist Because We Allow It. Melting have had a huge 6 months. They, of course, played shows with both, of course, Thornhill. They've played shows with Heist, and they're about to do a tour or show in Melbourne with, of course, Alpha Wolf, which is huge. So what a 6 month period for Melting. Interviews coming up. There's been a few announced in the last couple of weeks. So Sunday the 11th of May, the rescheduled interview with New Age. Then Friday the 16th of May, we've got, of course, Terry Truern, who presents Time for Terry on 3BBRFM on a Wednesday afternoon between 3 and 5 p.m. Saturday the 24th of May, we've got Lean In from Melbourne. Then on Tuesday the 17th of June, just announced the last couple of days, Ballarat band Distorter will be jumping on for a chat. And then Sunday, July 6th, a band that has been on heaps and heaps of podcasts and always have a lot of time for this band and the pleasure to have them on again. Queensland band Disgust will be jumping on again. There's a few gigs coming up in the next couple of weeks, including a couple on Friday night, literally across the road from each other. Friday, May 9 at, of course, Nighthawks, we've got Tile, All Regards and Newgate Crowd. Dan's in the lobby. I'll let him in. Let's get this chat started. Hello, Dan.
Hello.
How we going today?
Good, man.
Good?
Just having trouble hearing you.
Oh, okay. That's
Yeah.
weird, because I can hear you perfectly.
Got a little bit of volume.
Alright. What can I do with this volume on here? Just see with the microphone. Any better?
That should be enough, man. We should be right.
Yep. Well, for those that don't know, Dan does Volume Dealer, which is a YouTube channel podcast where he has bands come in to perform music and also interview them. So it's awesome to finally meet over WebEx, Dan.
Likewise, mate. Thanks for having me.
Oh, anytime. It's interesting because it doesn't happen very often with these interviews that I'm interviewing someone that interviews bands as well. It's very rare this happens, so...
Thanks for having me, man. Yeah, I really appreciate it.
Nah, I watched a couple of the episodes. I watched the one with Smoke Witch and also Glenn from Shotgun Mistress and really enjoyed both of them. It looks like you've been doing it for 10 years, Dan, honestly. Just how professional and how good it sounds.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Well, I mean, I have been doing this sort of stuff for a while now. It's sort of, been going back a long time, sort of making videos for my own bands and just recording stuff over the years, and decided to sort of put it into a new project now. And, loving it. Been having a great time with it. It's been fantastic.
And, like, when you watch a video on YouTube or TikTok, any of the platforms, Facebook, you see within about 5 minutes, or probably not even that, maybe 2 minutes of a video, if the interviewer's having a great time. And when I watched both interviews, I saw that straight away I knew this is what you're wanting to do and sort of get your name out there with a lot of these interviews and having them perform, because I think we need more of that, to be honest, Dan. Like, I know there is a lot of people that do it in Australia, but I feel like we can never have enough.
I agree. I agree. There's what we've certainly noticed since starting this is that there's definitely a lack of good quality live performance content. Generally, what you see on band social medias, a lot of the time it's just filmed on a phone at a gig, and it doesn't really reflect quality of the band. I find it sort of sometimes it can almost be a negative in a way that it doesn't truly reflect sort of the energy that the band is portraying when they're on stage and stuff. And so that's where wanted to come in and try and bridge that gap. And I've sort of tried to film live shows, and we are. I'll get to the next thing we're about to release now soon. But what I found with live shows is there's a lot of variables and it's quite difficult to actually get a good quality, especially the audio is a really hard thing to capture at a live show consistently across all the venues because it's just some venues have a little PA, some have big, some it's really hard to get a good quality multi-track recording. And so the next best thing is to get them into a studio setting and try and then that way I've got full control over everything that's happening and yeah, and also just notice that there's just not any kind of live TV show, music TV show thing sort of happening in Australia at the moment, and we're trying to bridge that gap and sort of bring that back a bit because I think it also puts the band in a different sort of setting, which is far more intimate, and I think the bands themselves also step up to the plate. They just there's something about being put on the spot like that that really brings out a good performance in a band. Like they really, yeah, they do their homework and they make sure that when they come in, they smash it. And yeah, so far we've captured some really phenomenal performances. I think I must
Which
be quite. I sort of forget how kind of intimidating it could be getting into that sort of setting. And so yeah, you really do get the measure of the band when they come in and smash it. You know, it's a great feeling.
But you're right on the front there, Dan, with about the there's not many live music TV shows on normal TV here in Australia. I remember 15, 20 years ago, we probably had five or six, maybe even more
Yep,
than that.
yep, yep. I mean, obviously starting off with stuff like Countdown back in the day, and then stuff like Recovery, which was a great thing when I was growing up. It was something, every Saturday morning, and that was obviously more of a variety show, but they had the live bands, and there was some bands that I saw for the first time on there that I remember seeing, and it's such a great, obviously a great avenue for bands to get some kind of promotion. And these days, obviously with the internet, like, yes, there's a lot of ways for bands to get themselves out there, but there's also so much more competition. And then, like I said, it's just having it sound and look as good as it can possibly look. And what I enjoy most about doing this is trying to capture a band and capture their essence on film and like, cutting it's all in the editing as well, like trying to find the best shot that reflects what's going on in the song at the time. That's what I enjoy the most about the process is that and yeah, that's probably the most rewarding thing for me is like watching it back once I've edited it and making sure that I've done my best to sort of capture the actual essence of the band doing their thing.
And like, and I think the other thing to look into it is also that not only are you getting to capture their live, set in studio and all that, but finding all this amazing talent here in Australia. We've got some of the best bands in the world coming out of Australia at the moment, and it's
Yep.
really pleasing to see. Like, I don't know, like everyone keeps asking me, what do I see the Australian scene in 5, 10 years' time? And 10 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to answer that. And I don't think I can actually answer that even now because I think it could even grow bigger than what it is right at the moment.
Yeah, look, I mean, from my own personal opinion, I always think that Australia has had a phenomenal music scene all the way back into the 60s and 70s. There were some fantastic bands there that didn't really get the recognition that they kind of deserve purely for the fact that Australia is at the bottom of the world and like it's so far away from other places, has and has such a small population over such a vast area, which makes it really, really difficult for the bands here, the good bands, to actually get any kind of, proper recognition or to make even a living out of it from Australia. It's so tough. And most of the bands that who are any good usually bugger off overseas because it's the only thing that they can do to actually, sort of grow and progress. So, but as the world gets smaller with the internet and with social media and stuff, I think that yeah, you can definitely see that there are now a lot more Aussie bands making big waves overseas. It's sort of happening more and more by the day, and yeah, I hope so. I hope that like in 5 years' time, that some of these bands that are sort of coming up now really do get the recognition that they deserve globally. There's a couple that I've got my eye on right now that I just think are absolutely fantastic, and I just hope, like, I just hope that they weren't born in the wrong era. Some of these bands are like, fuck, if they were around in this early, like in the 70s and 80s, they just would have been massive, you know. And it's also, it's like rock and roll. It's this thing. It's like it's still hanging in there, you know. Like it's still people still dig it and enjoy it, but it is becoming increasingly more of a niche thing now. If you're talking about like really popular music, it's pretty much it's kind of decreasing in popularity a little bit. So yeah, any of these young bands coming up, I do wish them all the best and hope they get the recognition they deserve for sure.
Mm. And I think a lot of people think that because most of my majority of music is rock and metal and punk and all that, but I think the at the moment, and for a lot of people that don't know, like before Parkway came along, before Amity, Northlane, and these metal bands came along, Australia didn't really have a huge metal scene in some sense. Like we had a few big names that were sort of starting to get big, like Airborne and Cog and Carnival, but ever since those bands have become pretty much well known all around Australia and mostly the world, I think a lot of other bands are busting their ass saying, hey, if these bands can make it overseas, why can't we? If we put
Yep,
in time and effort.
yep, yep. Those bands for sure definitely blew open the metal scene. I mean, that's the world that I grew up in. I've had a lot to do with the Aussie metal scene all the way back into the early '90s when I first started playing music. And when we were kids, we would look up to the Australian metal bands, the ones from Melbourne, because I sort of come from the country, and when we'd find out about metal bands through Hot Metal magazine. That was like our window to the world. And the bands that were from Melbourne and Sydney and stuff, we would classify them almost in the same vein and realm as the international bands, you know. And so, yeah, it's always been there, but it's never really had the ability to break out globally. And it wasn't until those bands sort of came onto the scene that, mate, have I lost you?
I can hear you, I just can't see you for a
Okay, cool.
second.
I'll keep talking. Um, yeah, so it wasn't until those bands sort of broke out into the worldwide scene that things really started to take off. And yeah, I mean now there's heaps of bands sort of going over and doing some great stuff. Another one, Psychroptic. They're another huge sort of band from the extreme metal realm that are going from strength to strength. And now you got King Parrot, who are just taking the world by storm at the moment.
Mm.
Funny, I should mention them. They're actually, I'll just let you in on a secret. They're actually going to be one of the next bands coming in, actually. So,
Oh,
pretty
okay.
pumped to have those guys in. They're just about to put out their new album and head back over to the US to do the US with Pantera. So they've
Yep.
just done the UK and Europe with them, and now they're heading back over to do America. So, yeah, it's pretty wild.
That's
And
keeping him busy for sure.
For sure. And I couldn't yeah, I mean they just totally deserve it, man. As ambassadors for this country, they just sort of epitomize everything that the Australian metal scene is and the music scene in general, just Australian culture, everything. They embody all of it, and that's why they're so successful overseas. They've just been able to bottle all of that into a band and all the personalities and the music they write and it's obviously resonating with people for sure. So yeah, big things for them. It's already been big. They just played Wembley Stadium, for Christ's sake. I mean,
Yeah,
that's insane. That's insane.
that's huge to play
Yeah,
Wembley Stadium for a band like King Parrot or any band in Australia or the world. That's massive.
yeah,
Like, doesn't really get much bigger than that. Maybe outside of the MCG, maybe.
that's
But
it.
uh,
Yeah, look, they're about to. I mean, for me personally, they're about to play with one of my all-time favorite bands, and that's a band called Acid Bath, who are just reformed after 28 years of being in the wilderness, and like the fact that that band is actually back together is just something that nobody who's a fan of the band ever saw coming. And they're going to play a show with them over in Brooklyn in New York, and like I was like, dude, that's massive as
it,
far as I'm concerned. Like Acid Bath fans are pretty rabid, so yeah, if you're a fan of the band, I mean, and so is Youngie. Youngie's he's a big fan, so yeah, he's pretty blown away by that, and I'd hope he would. I would love to be stowed away in his luggage so I could go see that show. That's for
but
sure.
yeah, well, and trying to make it play a show in the US alone for an Aussie band is. Some have made it big in the US here in Australia, but it is a tough market to break into.
100%. There we go. I got you back now.
Oh no, that's all
Um,
right. All good.
Yeah, sorry, man. So I'm actually sitting in my car up in Healesville at the moment. Me and my girlfriend went out for the day up here, so I'm just sitting in my car.
Oh,
But
that's all right. I could still hear
yeah,
you perfectly, and you're not the first person to lose your camera, Dad, so it's not the end of the world.
all good, man. No drama. Yeah, so yeah, I, they sort of got taken under the wing by Phil Anselmo. He obviously, I remember when he sort of first cottoned on to the band when they came over here with Down. I remember that's sort of when he sort of picked up and started to hear King Parrot, and then obviously absolutely loved them and put him on his record label, Housecore Records, and you know now he's taking them all around the world. It's pretty crazy. He's had and Somo's actually had a bit to do with a few Aussie bands. Portal, that's another one that he's a big fan of as well. So yeah, good shit.
Now, I reckon the first time I saw King Parrot is a bit of a nostalgia thing because a lot of people would remember this music festival, but no longer exists, unfortunately. First Unify in Gippsland I went to, the first band I saw was, funnily enough, King Parrot.
Wow,
And I
unreal.
just remember walking away from that set, and I'm just like, what have I just witnessed? In the
Ah,
nicest possible way. It was just that fucking good. It was like, this band's about to explode. And,
yeah,
well,
off we go. Yeah, look, same. I mean, in my old band, Frankenbach, we used to play with them a lot back in when they were first sort of breaking out and going out interstate out of Melbourne. We'd do a few shows with them here and there up in Newcastle and stuff like that, where we sort of had a bit more of a following. And you could just tell straight away that, these guys were onto something and doing something pretty unique and special that was definitely getting people's attention. And their shows were always wild. They were always crazy, and they would always, get just their crowd work, and Youngie would just the shit that he would do to try and just I don't know, he'd get up in everyone's face, and he wouldn't let it go until he got everyone up and moving and happening. And by the end of their show it was just chaos. So yeah, seen them since their very very early days and watched them closely. And yeah, I think it's fantastic what's going on for them at the moment.
and of course, they've
So
got
yeah,
the.
we'll get them in the room in a couple of weeks and see what they can do in that confined space. It could be a little daunting. I don't know you know, what we're in store for, but we shall see.
Isn't that the beauty, though, if we don't know what's in store with a little space and a band? I think it's makes it more exciting to see what happens.
Oh yes, yeah. Well, one of the bands that we did have in is a band that sort of been playing a bunch of shows with King Parrot. They're called Chuff, and they're sort of similar vein. And the vocalist is a real loose cannon, absolute wild man. And yeah, he was. it was great to actually finally have a front man in there that was completely off unhinged, and like he just went mental, and like it makes for great footage, don't get me wrong, but it was just like, oh shit, any minute, the wheels could come falling off here. He's gonna fucking topple over the drum kit, or he's gonna do
Oh
something, take out some
no.
lights. It was always on tenterhooks, but no, it was great. It made for some great footage.
Nah, and that's what you want. The footage people will watch and go, wow, what did I just see? This is
That's it.
in a small space as well. I think some of the best gigs I've been to have been in small spaces, and the vocalists just make it their own. They just do something crazy like jump up on the bar, or they
Yep,
swing off something. Like I've seen Glenn from Shotgun Mistress jump up on bar stools and that at gigs, and that's Glenn to a T. And funnily enough, for those that don't know, Glenn's the one that actually set the interview up with Dan, who Dan
yep,
also interviewed a few weeks ago.
that's right. Yes, yes, indeed. Yeah, Glenn's got a PR company, so we've sort of done a bit of work together, and yeah, it was great to have those dudes in. That was awesome. Actually, the bass player in that band, Benno, he and I grew up together and played in a band together for 10 years. Our first band that we ever got happening when we were kids, when I was like 14, 15. He would have been about 16, and yeah, we sort of grew up playing music together. So I know Benno very well. So it was great to have those guys in the room and to catch up with Benno. And yeah, it's great to see those guys going from strength to strength as well. So they just did
Mm-mm.
the Winger tour, and yeah, kicking some goals, and they've got a few more interesting things, some awesome shit in the pipeline for next year that I sort of can't really divulge at this point. But yeah, no, they're doing real well. So good to see.
And Benno's, well, he's sort of my neck of the woods, further on than what Warrigal is, of course, from Bensdale originally.
Yes, that's where I grew up. So Bairnsdale, Lakes Entrance, that's where we grew up. So yeah, I went to school, high school in Lakes Entrance until year 10, and then to Bairnsdale for year 11 and 12. So know the area well, my friend.
Yes. Someone a few months ago said some of the best songwriters or musicians in bands come from Gippsland, and at first I'm like, actually, now I can sort of see what they're saying, because there are a lot of good, talented musicians that either still live in Gippsland or grew up in Gippsland and moved to the city.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, I remember back in the day, the Battle of the Bands shows that we used to do, like down in Morwell and stuff like that. There was some pretty good bands. One of them I remember, I don't know if you've ever heard of this band, probably not. They were called Jocks Full of Jelly.
nah,
Ever remember that band?
never heard of
No.
them, Dan.
Yeah, no, they were kind of top of the realm down there, and so they used to always win the Battle of the Bands and stuff. They were kind of a funk band, and yeah, I just remember that band. Another band called Varsaw. Have you ever heard of those guys?
No, you've
Death
stumped me a
metal
couple of
band. They're still
times here.
going. Yeah, they're still going. I believe the guitarist was blind, if I remember correctly. The actual guitarist was blind, but yeah, I saw recently that they're still going. I was like, wow, that's crazy. So they've been going since the early '90s, which is nuts.
What's 30 plus years,
Yeah.
depending what part of the 90s?
Yep. Yep. Wild.
Yeah. All right, well, we've covered 20 minutes and we haven't even started the interview. That's impressive. So, generally, Dan, it's just a bit of a general chat. I know I put in the thing interview, but it's generally just a normal chat between two people. I'll find out a bit about Volume Dealer, and
Yep.
then at the end, the tables get turned. So, Dan has the floor and gets to ask me a question.
Right. Okay.
So I'll give you a bit of time, not put you on the spot right now. That wouldn't be fair or professional.
No worries, man. No good. I can do that.
And this episode, because I'm not working tomorrow and haven't really got anything done, other stuff to do tonight, this will be up probably this time tomorrow, maybe earlier. It just depends on other things that are happening, which at the moment isn't much. So
Excellent.
I'll send you the link and you can share it, and then I'll put up a Spotify playlist of local bands and artists, and There's going to be a few bands that have featured on Volume Dealer. I can tell you that right now. Not saying who, but there will be a few.
Beautiful. Sounds good, man.
Nah. Okay, so the first question off the cab is what made you first want to start up Volume Dealer?
Well, it's an idea that I kind of had floating around in my head for a while. I kind of, well, it basically encompasses the three things that I love doing most, which is filming bands, live bands, recording live bands, because I love live music and I love the live energy. I prefer live albums over recorded albums, if I've got to be completely honest. And the other element that we haven't really spoken about yet is the merchandise side of things. So, along with the episodes that we put out, we also do a run of limited edition merch that goes with each episode. That we do a campaign for 3 weeks after the episode airs, see if we can sell a bit of merch for the band, which I also print. I've got a merch company as well. A Volume Dealer is kind of a merch company as well as doing the filming stuff. And yeah, so it sort of had this idea of I've always wanted to film bands and do it on a regular basis, and I'd always had the idea it'd be rad to get a band in on a Friday night and just film them and record them and just put it out there, and never really got around to it. And then when I started up the merch stuff again, I decided that it would be a great way to promote what I do and all of the different elements of things that I do, as well as help promote the artists and the bands that we sort of do some merch printing with as well. And so it sort of started from there. And now that we've sort of started doing it, it's obvious, like I said, it's definitely there's a hole in the market in terms of good quality live content for bands, and it's something that the bands themselves are really appreciate, because it helps them out a lot, like in terms of utilizing this content not only to help promote them on their social media and stuff, but also to help them get gigs, stuff for them to give good quality content to give to promoters, to help them get shows and hopefully bigger shows than what they've been getting, and support slots and stuff like that. So yeah, it's sort of been very rewarding in that regard, and working with all these different bands and getting to record them all, which has been great for me, like just learning a whole bunch of stuff from recording all these different bands. So yeah, so that's kind of where it started, and we'll see where we can take it, man. But we obviously have ambitions to take this as far as we can and try and get. I've got a bunch of bands that I'd love to get in the room, but also other bands that we come across. It's great to sort of go to shows and scope out bands and see, oh shit, these guys are good. Bands I haven't heard of before. That we sort of come across that we think would be fantastic to get in there and stuff. So yeah,
And
yeah.
I guess the thing we got to remember is like, no band's really off limits in asking. Like, some might be harder to get in than others due to schedules and that, but I guess no band's off limits.
No, I mean, obviously, the bigger we get, the more complicated it gets, especially if the band is signed to a major label or any of that sort of stuff. We're sort of, when we get to that bridge, we'll cross it. But yeah, and there are certain things that may hinder getting a band in, but yeah, at the moment, not so much. So we'll just keep moving along and try and build it as we go. And I'm looking to sort of do, at the moment we're sort of done majority rock bands, but because it's my personal favorite style of music. But yeah, so but nothing's off limits in terms of the style either. I'm looking to record all kinds of music. Doesn't matter what it is, as long as the artist is phenomenal and good at what they do, and yeah, good live. So that's pretty much that's the stipulation, basically, that you kick ass doing what you do.
Mm. And it can be as simple as like you saying, like you get out to a lot of live music, you like live recording albums instead of the actual other albums. But I think that's an interesting thing what you said about the getting out to live music and sort of inspired you to start up Volume Dealer because I think that's a great story because when you're in person seeing a band live, or bands in most cases, I think you're sort of just drawn to their performance and the whole stage outset, everything like that. And then you think, well, if they're doing that at a live venue, whether it's a pub or a big 700 capacity venue, I mean, a smaller venue and live plus recorded and put up on YouTube is something that a lot of people will want to watch, because YouTube is a very powerful platform to have that sort of stuff put up on.
Yep, sure is, man. And speaking of that, the next thing that we've got coming up is a little slightly different. I'm not doing an actual episode like we usually do in the studio. It's a full show that we recorded. It's one of the bands we've already done before. They're called Willie J and the 6v6s. As far as I'm concerned, they're probably one of the best up and coming bands getting around at the moment. And we went and filmed their single launch a couple of months ago at the Gem. It's this tiny little joint, no stage, just on the floor. Place was packed, and we filmed and recorded it. And so that's what we're bringing out next Sunday. So I'm a week behind because it's like 11 songs. It took me a little bit more to get it all up and happening, but I've just put the finishing touches on it now, and that'll be out next Sunday. And yeah, so that's a very intimate sort of show. It's sort of I love those sort of shows the most. It's a more intimate stuff, and we're very close and up close and personal with the band. And I think we captured a really cool performance. Those guys killed it. They always kill it, but yeah, I'm excited for people to see that and to check more of this band out, and hopefully it will draw more people to their shows, because that's the intention, is to for people to see this band do what they do and go, holy shit, no, that's worth me spending a bunch of cash on a Friday night to go watch.
Yeah.
So yeah, looking forward to that. It'll be out next Sunday. I don't know when. Actually, this is going to air tomorrow. So yeah, so it'll be the next thing. It'll be next Sunday. I think it's the
11th, I
13th.
think.
Yeah, something like that. The 11th, something like that.
I think the only reason I know that is not that I'm a Star Wars fan, but today's May 4th, and May
The
the
fourth.
4th
That's
be
correct.
with you. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I've got to be honest, I don't think I've ever been to the gym in Melbourne. I
Neither
think
had I,
I've.
man. It's just a tiny little joint. It's really not a venue per se. They have live music in the front bar area, and yeah, when I turned up there, I was like, oh shit, this is gonna be tough, because there's no stage and there's very little room, but we managed to pull it off, and I think it really does capture. It's a very intimate sort of show that captures the band. We're very up close and personal, so you're getting a front row seat. And anyone who was watching it, because there's no stage, unless you were up the front, you probably didn't see a great deal of the band. So if anyone was at the show, they're going to get a version of it that's a lot better than what they would have seen at the gig. But yeah, no, they killed it. It was great, and had a ball putting that together. And cannot speak highly enough of this band, the 6v6s. They're freaking awesome. So check them out.
Oh, I definitely will check them out and check out so many other bands there are at the moment. It's sometimes just
Oh
hard to
yes.
keep up, honestly, Dan. It just you know the obvious bands are there on Spotify and all those platforms, and then you find a hidden gem that you hadn't even heard of, and you're like, how did it take me so long to find this band?
Yep. There's that many, man. It's pretty crazy how many bands there actually are globally. I'd love to get a number on it, but it would probably blow your mind if you knew how many bands there are in the world. And I think it's a great thing that like music and live music and bands is still a thing. It's becoming harder and harder every day for live music to exist in the world. They're doing everything they can to try and destroy it, but you just can't kill it. Doesn't
No,
seem you can. There's a lot of young bands now that are just, I'm really surprised how many sort of young people are still keen on playing music and playing bands. And there's a lot of young up and coming bands who are just phenomenal. So the future is bright.
very
Despite all the
bright.
AI music and all that bullshit, there's still plenty of room for live music. So
Yes, and that's a key thing there. Get out to live music. And the people that say, oh, I paid $250 for one artist and one band and then couldn't see them because they were too far away from the stage. I mean, go down to the local pub, go down to Gem, go down to, Leadbeater, wherever it is in Melbourne. You
Yep,
could spend 20, $30 and see five up and coming Aussie bands in one night, and that next band could be your favourite band.
that's it. Damn right.
So, yeah. But I have been to a couple of shows where I've spent the 200, 250, and they've been good, but yeah, I would generally pay anywhere to $50 for five bands easily.
Yep, yep, yep. That's a bargain, man.
Mm. And sometimes I've been at gigs and like it's been $50 and the four bands on the lineup are four bands that I've all wanted to see individually, but they're all on the same lineup.
Yep.
It's like I've hit the lottery. I mean, best review or feedback you have received for Volume Dealer.
Um, well, the best kind of feedback I think I get is from the bands themselves. That's the most rewarding stuff. It's like when like, it's always a daunting thing, like to send when I first send it to the band to hope that they're happy with it, because you just don't know what they're going to be thinking, whether or not they're happy with their own performance, let alone what we do with what happened on the day. And so it's always a bit daunting and a little nerve-wracking until I get that message back from them, you know. And a lot of every time, basically, it's been overwhelmingly positive. And some of the first time I ever did it was with Scarnon, and they were the first episode we did, and I thought, I mean, they're a phenomenal band, but they just killed it on the day, and I was really, really happy with what I was able to do with the footage and stuff, and just to get that message back when they all sat down and watched it together. They had their friends and family and stuff around. I like sent it to them on a Saturday night, and they got it, and they just all got on it and watched the episode, and just to get that message back, it was like, dude, you've captured our essence, man. Like you've just that to me was like, oh, thank fuck. Like, you know, it was just nice to get that feedback, and that they saw what I sort of saw as well. So yeah, that's what I always enjoy the most, is when I do get that feedback. And so far so good. So far, everyone we've sent it off the same. I just sent the Willie the live performance on Friday, and just waiting for that message back, and finally got it back. He's like, fuck yeah, dude, that's awesome. And I was like, yes, awesome. So yeah.
And first episode as well, I mean, with Scarnon, like, I find, like, when I first started this, the first episode was nerve wracking because I had done interviews before, but through audio ones. The first WebEx thing, I was like, to the day, I was like, oh, what's going to go wrong? Is the link not going to go through? Can the band not get through? And then afterwards, I watched it back and I'm just like, there was nothing to worry about. It was,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's just the lead up to it sort of thought, oh, am I doing the right thing? Is something going to go wrong? It happens with everyone in any
Yep.
profession, pretty much.
Yep. Yep. 100%, man. So yeah, it's always, nerve-wracking to get it off the ground, but yeah, now that I've done it a few times, I'm not so nervous about it. But you just never know what they're gonna come back with, whether they're happy with it or not. And so far, so good.
Well, with nearly 300 subscribers, something's been done right, Dan. I mean,
Yeah, look, it's a little slow, it's interesting. It's sort of because we do put it out across all platforms, YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and stuff, and sort of, and package it differently depending on what platform we're on. So sort of across the board, yeah, I'm happy with how it's gone so far. But yeah, look, it's just it's a rewarding thing for me regardless. I really just enjoy doing it. It's a lot of fun for me to do. So But yeah, if I can help these bands out in any way, shape, or form, that's what we're here to do.
Yep. And I'm sort of on the same thing with numbers, views, subscribers. Like, I love that people are watching it and the subscribers, but I said to someone the other night, I said, I'm having fun doing this. That's the main thing. Bands are liking to jump on and have a chat. If that's making bands happy and I'm enjoying it, that's all that matters. Everything else is just a bonus, really.
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
Because, yeah, when I, like the last few episodes, I've just found that, and this is no exception to today as well, it's just felt like this is the path I want to go down now, and I've no idea what happens in the future with this project, and I'm sort of excited, and I'm sure Dan is with Volume Dealer to see what the future holds.
100%, man. Yeah, we shall see.
Yeah, but if it's
Hey, I just got to mention, man, I am severely running out of battery on my phone. So, yeah, it's probably going to cut out soonish, unfortunately.
oh no, well we've got so much we've covered in 35 minutes, Dan. I mean, no, that's completely fine. Well, I'll run through the last two questions quickly before your phone goes flat. What
Sorry, man.
advice would you give to people that are thinking about starting a podcast or their own YouTube channel?
Um, start, just start, just do it. That's it. You know, do it and do it. Be consistent, and don't be afraid to just dive in there and do it. I think that's always the hardest part's getting started. I put it off for years. I've wanted to do this for ages, and just things, this isn't right. This isn't, just little things, and it's just like, you know what? It's just better to get the ball rolling and get started. And I obviously wanted it to be at a certain point before I did begin it. Probably could have started it earlier, but and maybe I have a little regrets that I didn't start it earlier, but at least I did. And like once you get it going, then yeah, you're off and racing then. So that would be my advice is to just if you're thinking about it and you want to do it, it's something you're passionate about, then just go for it. Just go for it.
Very, very sound advice there. And I'd probably reiterate it as well. If you have the passion and it's something you have thought about, just try it once. You never know what could happen with it. It could be something that you never thought about doing for years, and then boom, it's the
Yep,
next
that's
big
it.
thing.
Yep, that's it. You won't know unless you go, mate. So get
Exactly.
started and see where it goes.
And the last question is, which band, if you got to choose any band that you haven't interviewed yet, who would you love to have on Volume Dealer or play in as well?
That's an easy one. One of the bands that I first when I first had this idea of filming bands is one of my favorite Melbourne bands, who I'm yet to ask, but I will soon. They're a band called Child, and I would absolutely love to get those guys in the room. I've just been sort of waiting until I got it a little bit more established before I went and asked those guys. But yeah, definitely Child. They're phenomenal three-piece band, just unreal. So yeah, that's an easy one.
All right.
So hopefully soon we'll get to do something with them. That would be great.
Well, if they're watching this episode after it gets
Mm.
uploaded, get in contact with Dan.
Yes, indeed. That would be great.
All right. Well, quickly, now if Dan wants to ask me a quick question, now's the
Yeah,
time.
sure. Well, I guess I could ask you, like, what was the impetus? Like, what made you want to do your podcast? Like, what was the reason? Was there any particular reason or thing that made you want to do this? And yeah,
Uh, yep, and it's an easy answer due to that C word that dominated 2020, 2021, and 2022 called
yep,
COVID.
right,
That is the main reason because I used to do a radio show on a
right,
community radio station,
yep,
unfortunately, they closed due to lockdown restrictions and that. So I had to think outside the box. What am I going to do for 5 to 6 months and still support the local scene with playing music and that? And the audio podcast came about because a friend I know very well actually did a test one and it sounded really good. And I'm like, why can't I do that?
Yep.
And
Indeed. Why indeed.
the rest is history, Dan. Like that day,
Fantastic.
I haven't looked back. I've loved every minute of it. Getting to chat to bands, play their music, see them, catch up with them at gigs. It's just a great experience, and I love what I do. It's not even a job, honestly. It's a hobby.
Yep. Fantastic, man. Well, that's it, man. And the scene needs more guys like yourself doing that, man, for sure.
Well,
People who are passionate about it and willing to go that extra mile to want to help promote the bands and stuff. It's
well, I could say the same
100%.
for you, Dan. I mean, right back at you with Volume Dealer. What you're doing is incredible, and I mean, if
Thanks, man.
half the people out there put in the effort that Dan does for the scene, or even a third of the effort, I mean, yeah, the scene can be alive for years to come.
I agree, man. I agree, and I think it will be 100%.
Oh, all right. Well, I don't want your phone to die
That's all
before.
good, man. It's hanging in there, but yeah, probably best we wrap it up before it cuts out completely. But thanks for having me, Sam. I really appreciate your time today, and yeah,
Honestly,
cheers.
Dan, I've had a great time. The time's just gone and disappeared. It feels like we got on 2 minutes ago.
Yeah, mate. That's it.
But I'd have Dan from Volume Dealer back on any time in the future. Like,
Please.
yeah.
That'd be great. And yeah, like I said, next episode will be out coming this Sunday, which is Willie J 6v6's live at the Jam. And it'll be at Sunday at 9 a.m. We'll be putting that up online. So check it
I'll
out.
I'll be sure to check that out, and I'll go back and watch all the interviews and live gigs you've done on YouTube because I spend way too much time on YouTube as it is. But
Excellent. Good stuff.
all right, Dan,
No
from
worries, Sam.
all good, had an absolute ball. I'll send you the link tomorrow, probably even earlier than what I first said. But it's been awesome. Have a great Sunday afternoon, and we'll catch up again soon.
No worries, mate. Thank you very much.
No worries, Dan.
See you, brother.
See ya.